Yeah, yeah.
So
Well, something interesting too is I've had I do run the weekly session for my coworkers at work, and it started as, hey, we're all here on a Friday, let's just play for an hour and a half to 2 hours at the end of the day. It's an excuse to get off work a little early, and we played some D&D, and it evolved into, now that we can't go to the office anymore for the foreseeable future. We're playing on Roll20, and I happened to put them through a similar campaign uh, as you guys did. So they did Utrix's uh, like lair and castle, and uh, but they, because I went through with you guys in essentially one shot. We sat down for 6 hours and we played through all of Utrix's domain, and they're now into their third hour and a half session into it. They've made a lot of interesting choices based on being able to sleep on it and come back to it, that I don't think you guys, not necessarily that you didn't have the opportunity to make, but in some ways, like they went through the doors where the siren was and talked to you, and they went to the doors where the giant demon was, had the platinum spikes into the wall, and they found Agni and talked to Agni, but they did those on like real life different days, and they had time to recoup and text each other and talk and think about what is really going on in this world. That way, when they came back and they played for their hour and a half, they asked a lot of very pointed and interesting questions, and they really wanted to figure out who these people were and why they are. And they're still not out, but I do think that there's merit to playing shorter games more times, with time in between that you're still communicating back and forth, but it gives you time to really think about out of game what you're going to do, and then achieve that in like succinct
Well,
chunks.
and one of the things that one of the other DMs that I talked about before on YouTube had talked about was, and we have done that somewhat with our campaigns, where out of session, you'll talk to one of the players or the DM, and you'll say, "Hey, I was thinking this," and you don't really have a whole nother session, but it directs where that person's going, what they're doing in the next game. So I agree with you. There's a lot of merit to having those shorter games where people can kind of digest what they've done and so forth. Of course, once you get past session 0, which, especially with newer people, that could take 4 to 6 hours on its own, just building your character. I know one of the things that I had done before was I would meet up with the groups individually, the people individually, work with the character, do a little backstory montage, which gave them an idea of how they would play their character, gave me an idea of how they play their character, and then we all met together for session 1. And that really created kind of a cohesion with it. So I think maybe where you were saying that one big session and then everybody was able to crunch it back and do the smaller sessions may help with that too. So kind of a mix between the two.
Yeah. And so we talked a lot about what our thoughts of kind of like as players and as our group, short sessions versus long sessions. But for us that are DMing, do you think, especially for earlier DMs or newer DMs, shorter sessions are probably more forgiving?
oh yeah,
There's
short sessions for sure.
there's a lot less chance for your party, if you're going to put in, I know, at least I know from my own experience when I started DMing, I put in hours of work to get ruined in seconds. And
well, you gave us a choice.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
ultimately giving your party a choice is 100% the wrong thing to do. Put your parties on rails, and everybody rides the ride at the same time. No, sorry, that's sarcasm. But yeah, as a shorter, when I only have to prepare for an hour and a half session, sometimes, like last time in Utrix's lair, they looked at a wall sconce for 20 minutes because they thought it was some sort of some sort of lever on a wall, and it was just a wall sconce. Like it was a candle on a wall that was lit, and they just fascinated on it for a long time. And if I had to conversely take that into a 9-hour session where essentially in the first 45 minutes they decided they are not going to go in any way that I've prepared at all, as a new DM, like that would be hard for me to come up with essentially 6 hours of new content, where if it's an hour and a half, it's not so bad if it's like one fight and 20 minutes of role play, you know?
Well, and like you said, for a new DM, that would be something that you would have to prepare for and let the group know. So for all the new DMs out there watching, whomever you may be, plan that. When you talk with your group, how are we going to introduce this? Maybe that session 0 could be your big crunch time when everybody has that one Saturday free. And everybody gets in and builds their character and does that. Maybe not even, they're just playing in your world. They're totally sandboxing it. Then you start the adventure and you break into those 2-hour sessions and so forth. Because on the flip side of that, I am so used to you guys literally saying, we're all marching east. And then when we get together, they go, north looks pretty nice right now. And you go in that opposite direction. So having that flexibility, there's very few times in our game sessions that I've been like, yeah, you just can't go there. And I think because that takes the immersion out, because literally if I wanted to get up right now and go walk into the police station, I could. All the cops would probably tell me I couldn't, but we'd have to figure that out later, and it would be in a blotter and everything else. But, I could give it one hell of a try. I hate to take that away from the group, but in the same regards, I've been playing since second edition. So I kind of have an idea of whatever world we're playing in. Like I'm playing in your campaign setting right now. I already have an idea of what to do if you guys decide, we're not doing this. So you kind of learn to roll with it. But definitely as a new DM and as new characters, keeping those smaller chunks really would help out.
Yeah. And so Ryan and Jess, as like somewhat newer players, and definitely newer on the DM side, if you were going to DM a game, what would you want to do? How would you set up your game?
I think for me, I'm not brave enough to try to DM right now, being as new as I am at the game. But I think as a newer player, the shorter sessions tend to work a little better than longer. When you're still trying to get your footing and whatnot, I think the shorter sessions are less overwhelming when you're trying to take everything in. I think probably the biggest thing, though, is just making sure your group is communicating with each other, because you can go all sorts of sideways if you're not. Even when we're not playing, we're talking to each other pretty much on a daily basis. Like, we keep up communication all the time. I think it helps a lot, too. Just talking to each other, so...
Well, and one thing that Bryce has brought in many times, I'm sorry to cut you off, Ryan, I do want to hear what you have to say, is that we're not playing this game because we're a bunch of D&D enthusiasts who want to only roll the dice. We're a group of friends who enjoy a game. And we like being with each other. I mean, stand aside of just alone, I've gone out and had drinks or hung out with everybody. So, we enjoy that camaraderie with each other. So that's part of the game too. But you don't know that until after you've played that 12-hour session and you've clogged somebody's toilet and they've looked at you like, oh, man,
Multiple
this is
times.
don't play in the anymore.
Oh, wait, Ryan?
Yeah, in my experience, I've had better luck with a 4 to 6 hour game for my first couple of one-shots I've run. I can definitely say if you're a newer DM, try to stick to a one-shot. It's much easier to not have to worry about lasting implications on a massively ongoing campaign that the DM's done a ton of stuff to designed all kinds of fun side quests and huge shipping missions that, oh, you guys aren't going to do that? Well, there goes that 6 weeks. 6 weeks of world building I did.
Which never happens.
So, if you are looking to be a DM and you're looking for those one shots, where would you go? Like, if I just wanted tomorrow to run a game, how would I go about doing that?
Drive through RPG.
DM's Guild.
Yep. Both exactly what I was going to point at. I've found a lot of good one shots on DM's Guild, found quite a few on Drive Through RPG.
And something we had spoken about before was literally you have an idea of what you want. That Bryce talked about Harry Potter. You got that one idea, and I mean, you could take that one short movie, The Princess Bride. What a great one shot!
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, if the world has a Wikipedia for it, then you can make your own. But I would not advise at least a first-time DM to make their own world. I would advise using a supplement. I'm seeing a little bit of talk about railroading in the stream chat. I did want to just do a quick touch on that. It's my opinion that if you railroad properly, you don't know if your players don't know they're being railroaded. So let's say I've built a world that's totally open to you guys, and I've expected you to go to the north to go face down this wizard in his ice tower, and you're like, you know what? I heard in the desert the warriors have curved swords, so I think I'm going to go check that out. Well, I guess his tower is not made of ice anymore. It's made of desert glass, and it's in the desert. So you're still playing the same game, and it's kind of railroaded, but you guys decided on the context.
So where the players decide, the DM would adjust, but it's still the game that the DM has created.
Yeah, because it's not possible for everybody to be able to improv everything on the spot. And I know that there have been games that I've played in and have DM'd for, and even in our group, where we've done stuff that if you didn't be like, okay, well, you're going over here, well, now I got to figure out how to get you over here. Most DMs that are new would have just taken up their big script and tossed it in the trash can.
Well, you know, and one of the fun things that we had done before, Bryce and I and Marina, we'd actually played a game where every rotation was a different DM.
That was really
Oh,
cool.
yeah,
And-
that was
And it was
different.
interesting because we had a world, and I mean, granted, all of our characters were chaotic, but that added to it. So having that world based, and that's something that I would kind of want to speak on, is we see Critical Role, Brandon.
No, not a sponsor. Not a sponsor. Critical
And
Role.
we see
I
people who
get
have
no money
created
from Critical Role.
these entire worlds, and they've got every detail down, every deity, every stone, every town named, and that is not your first DM. That is not your first session. If you have spent 3 years creating your D&D campaign, and then you finally get a group together, you probably are going to DM one session and then decide this is the worst game ever, or you need a different group. So I want to, like Ryan has said, stick to those one shots, build that world, make that session 0, make it a sandbox, have fun with it, enjoy the game, because it is a game. It's a game with friends. Unlike Words with Friends, which is
I know that Brandon will say in the 40K streams to thin your paints. So maybe have a session 0 should be the Dungeons and Dragons equivalent of the 40K thin your paints.
Yeah, there's a lot to talk about from just a general game perspective, and set the expectations correctly for the group, which is the foundation that the castle's built on. So I think we're coming up on time. It was great hanging out with everybody, especially you guys in chat. It's great to talk to you guys. If you're watching this again on YouTube, feel free to put a like, subscribe. We'd love to hear from you. Anything in the comments. And if you're on
Yeah.
Twitch, follow us to see when our next content's coming up.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thanks for allowing us this opportunity. Remember, stay safe, stay home, have fun.